Yeah, dude, sometimes I look like an absolute bum, okay? And instead of... What's that? Did you hear that? Maybe my roommate just got home. Instead of being mad about that, I'm gonna need you to just appreciate when I don't look like this. Okay? Because I already know that's what you're thinking. I know the second you get on these, you judge my appearance. Alright, maybe that's not you, maybe that's me. But that's not what I'm concerned about. That is not what I'm concerned myself with. I mean, obviously it is. I'm sitting here talking about it. I'll get over it eventually. But yeah, this is where bumming it. This is how I'm feeling. Okay. We are using the Hermetic deck. I'm gonna get a little crazy up in here. Whoa. I say crazy and everything starts going wild. Let's see what we got. Okay. There's a lot of communication. And it's finding the right words to say. There we go. Anything else? Okay. Beautiful. Okay, so we are starting out with these 4 cards. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to use my pink tarot for the first time too. And I'm going to use these as our clarifying cards. I haven't used this deck yet at all. So this will be fun. Also, they're going to look really cool together because the Hermetic deck is all black and white. And these are pink and rainbow and beautiful. Oh yeah, this is the right energy. This is the right stuff. Also, they really do look really pretty together. Let me, before I flip these, because the back of these cards is beautiful. Let me show you the cards that we have. I'm just joking. They just look very nice. Big fan of aesthetics, obviously. Which is, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just being shallow enough to actually value myself by appearances. That's a problem. Okay. Oh, yeah. Alright, let's shuffle one more time. In the reverse. Just so I can make sure these are all properly well mixed. Okay. Nice. Okay, so the first card that we have is the 7 of Wands in the upright. These cards are so beautiful and so intricate. And I really wish that my camera picked up the details better. But this is Lord of Valor. Okay, in the 7 of Wands, let me picture it for a second. What does the 7 of Wands normally look like? What does the 7 of Wands normally even look like? I can think of the 6 of Wands, I can think of the 8, the 9, the 10, the 5. What does the 7 look like? Alright, well, guess I don't need to know. I'm going to read them all first, and then I'm going to read them together. So we have the 7 of Wands in the upright. We have the Hierophant in the reverse. Magus of the Eternal Gods. Wow. Really beautiful. We have the Queen of Swords in the reverse. The Queen of the Thrones of Air. Oh man, I need to These cards are so cool because they really take all of the mystery schools and put them together. All of them, because this has, like, it has Greek, Roman, Egyptian, Tibetan, Sumerian, Kabbalic, so many different ones, all in these different cards. Astrology, what's that called? Numerology, gematria, all of these different things. Incredible. The Nine of Swords, also, like, these are very humbling cards to use because they remind me of how little I still know, and how far removed I've come from a lot of my education, to be honest. We have the Nine of Swords in the upright, the Lord of Despair and Cruelty. Isn't it so funny how these energies... Love it. Okay. Hold on. Both of our bookends, like both of the cards that we got on either side of the read, both resemble each other. And the cards that we have as the text also resemble one another. Maybe you don't see that, that's how I'm seeing it at least. When you read the front inside cover of a book, it's like the table of contents and what to expect from the book. When you read the back cover of the book, it's a synopsis and about the author. The Lord of Valor. I love how deep these are. So this is Sagittarius right at the top, in the form of the arrow. Within the, I still haven't looked up what the winged disc is called. I haven't looked up any of this shit. I should. Do I have my other phone right here? I thought I did. I thought I had it around. For purposes. No? Ah, it's right here. Is it on? I'm going to look up what a winged disc is called because that keeps coming up. Okay. These reads are weirder. These cards are wild. I really wish that I could show them to you better. Okay, let me... The thing is that both of these cards, when I'm like seeing them initially, like there's just so many different similarities, And like I said, it's almost like looking at the front cover and the back cover of a book, where, you know, when you, like, I don't know if you ever took English class, but when you're learning in English how to write a paragraph, you learn that the initial sentence in each paragraph is supposed to kind of let you know what to expect out of the paragraph, and the last sentence in that paragraph is supposed to be essentially a synopsis of that message. I don't tend to follow those rules so closely because I tend to be extremely wordy, but this is extremely well done. Like, that's what's so... I'm a chaotic mess myself. But I am open to this power in the universe through me, and it's like these powers, my guides, like, they're well scripted, like they're well spoken, and well written, and well educated, and well experienced. I mean, this power, it's so cool reading these cards for me, because it takes me back like thousands of years. Like Adventure Time is nostalgic for me. That takes me back to like a time in my own life. The original Rider-Waite tarot that I use takes me back to maybe just a couple generations, like my grandmother's generation. The pink tarot kind of actually takes me back just to like my mother's generation. I haven't quite used it yet, so I'm excited to use it. That in of itself is, okay, this is so cool. But this Hermetic deck, and like, I didn't realize that this was something that happens, but this Hermetic deck takes me back, like, real far. And it's so nice. It's such a pure energy that way. It's such a pure energy that it's so wild, because honestly, like, I love that my guides have led me to these specific cards, because like, oh goodness, even thinking of it like that, like, it's so perfect. You know, like, yeah, like, these are black and white, and having these very exact symbols that mean so many different things. It's just, it's beautiful, and it's wild. I feel like I'm not even complete in sentences right now. There's so much like excitement in me. It feels like my older ancestors. I connect with my ancestors all the time. It started with praying direct to like my direct ancestors, like my dead dad and my dead grandparents. People that I knew or have met in my life, or I'm like directly connected to. And then I started learning more and more. And like when I first started getting into it, pretty quickly it moved into my ancestors from like the 1800s, and then that quickly moved into my ancestors from like the 1600s. But then it kind of has stayed there almost for a time. And every once in a while I'd get these little peaks that like it goes back so much further, and like it would be this huge discrepancy, right, between those timelines. But in the course, and this is, I've only been practicing tarot at all, or understanding these forms of divination, for the last 4 years, almost 5 years now. I've been praying to my ancestors for the last 5 years, almost, very close to it. And man, I've learned so much, and it's crazy to like yesterday's reading, when I did the that Mars card, that Plane of Mars card, that was both like very futuristic, but also very far in the past, but also kind of separate from this third dimensional timeline. Well, it was not the third dimensional timeline, but this specific timeline that I'm on right now. And I am not on the same timeline right now that I was on back before 2012. In 2011, 2012, my paradigm shifted, and I entered a new timeline, because at that point I had leveled to a point when I first started learning about, when I first had gone through a couple of the mystery schools, like I leveled up to a place where my guides had given me a new directive, a new destiny, new specifications as to what was expected of me or what I was capable of. And so that moved me on to this new timeline. I don't know if any of this stuff, this probably all sounds crazy to those that don't understand what I'm talking about. At the same time, like, though I was 24 when I first started waking up to these things, and I'm 35 now. So, like, I know that when I say these things, like, you might have, your logic might be so strong in front of you that you, like, are like, that sounds crazy, because it doesn't sound normal. It's not like a way that you're used to communicating or that you're used to others communicating. But I kind of know in myself, I know for a fact, I don't kind of, like, I know in of myself, in the mirror that I am as a person, that when I speak on these things, it resonates with you. There's somewhere in you that it's resonating. I don't know if it's in your head. If it's in your head, you need to let it go and let it connect with the rest of you, because you're not just a brain and a stem. But it's connecting. I know that these things are connecting with whoever's watching this right now. Like, these things are connecting on a deep level for you, on different timelines. And that is causing a cohesion of what has been rifted, of what has been divided within you, which is maybe disconcerting to some degree if you're not accustomed to that, for sure, but it's nothing to be afraid of at all. It's something to embrace and to be quite excited about. Like, that's why, like, I feel this energy of, like, my ancestors being so excited, because the thing is that the further back I go into my ancestry, the more connected to everyone I become. Like, you know, if I'm going just off of, like, this deck is great, okay, the Adventure Time deck is great, but it really is nostalgic just for me, and it's like, it's almost like just beyond me, because it's even from a younger generation. I actually don't have a personal deck yet. This pink one is great, but it's not even, it's my mom's. I know that now. That's so wild. But, like, the newer the energy, the more chaotic it tends to seem, because it takes on this extremely personal aspect of the individual that is actively in active experience mixed with all of the other time that's ever happened, right? But, like, the further back you go, the more pure it becomes, because there isn't all of this time on top of it. There isn't all of these people and all of these different personal experiences all not mucking it up, but densifying it, right? Making it more dense. So it becomes more pure and more seamless and more... It's so funny because it's almost easier to read, but at the same time, it's also, like, it's not, because we've moved away from this education. But that's what's so beautiful about it too, and that's what's so exciting about it too, because it's like moving back into it. It's like remembering, it's like remembering these things that you've long forgotten, that it seems so simple, but as soon as they click, it, like, aligns everything. And when I first started praying to my ancestors, that was like a huge realization for me and a huge experience that I had. Like, all of a sudden, like, it was something so simple, so weird. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have anybody directing me. It came to me in my own meditations already, because I already was praying and meditating, and it came to me like, meditate on your ancestors. Pray to your ancestors. And I was like, what the fuck are we even talking about? And so I kind of relied on my grandma Pat, whose namesake I am, at first, because she had passed away fairly recently, but she was just always somebody I was very close to energetically, and I didn't really understand what I was talking about when I first started doing it. And that quickly, and she's on my mom's side, she's my mom's mom, but that quickly became my native ancestors, which, like, was so wild too, because, like, it's so beautiful, because it makes me want to cry. That comes through my mom. That comes through these connections, because my mom's mom is Scottish. It was my mom's dad that was native. I don't have a great relationship with my mom's dad, and I've actually blocked him off as one of my ancestors because what I received from him was a lot of perversion, and he wasn't doing the work. He's like lazy, like, and kind of conceited. Like, he wasn't doing the work energetically to elevate himself. So it was just not energy that I wanted to personally involve myself with. He kept like almost making it like it was my responsibility. And that resonated deeply with my mom too, where it's like it was making me more embittered against my mom to be close to him energetically. So I kind of blocked him out. And his dad, who was German. My grandpa was German and native. And yeah, his dad was German. And just not, I didn't want them in my repertoire. However, his grandmother, my grandpa's grandmother, extremely powerful woman, extremely kind, but thoughtful, deeply intuitive, very connected to nature. Connected more to nature almost than to people, for sure. Struggled actually with communications with people, but could talk to like plants and animals quite easily. Beautiful. It's just so crazy how like all of these things come connected. And I didn't understand any of this until the last 5 years when I started like engaging in these different things. Everything had led me up to that point, which is what's so cool about these things too. I know I'm kind of going off on a tangent. Hopefully this is quite helpful to you. It's something that needs to come out. But these things led us to where we are now. Like, this is actually, the Adventure Time deck is like slightly in the future. The Oracle of Destiny is actually quite in the future. It's not quite in the future, but it's like not my Oracle cards. They're not, they're like they're like a step ahead. Or like this hermetic deck is like what transpired prior. It's like getting to the roots. It's this past, it's this history, it's uncovering these shadow aspects of oneself. It's connecting with just thousands of years of history and experience and trauma and growth, education, and taking all of those things. And so it's like having these little things where all of a sudden, like, you know, you've been taking this test and kind of being like, man, I can't really remember that. Like, I can't think of what this was. And then all of a sudden, one little thing will be like, I remember all of these chapters now. And like, so then it's exciting because as you get into it, it's like, oh, right, that and that and that, right? Okay, so I looked up. Yeah, but what are we calling it? Don't just call it a winged sun. It's not just a winged disc. Isn't there a name for it? They're calling it a soul star, but I thought that there was a word. Specifically for it. I'll just keep calling it a winged disc. Okay. So be it. Okay, so that was a whole lot, and I don't feel like I actually completed any of those thoughts fully. That's for you. I'm planting seeds right now, and happily I'm like just throwing them all over. Now we're gonna do it a little more directly. These are, you know, some seeds you can just throw on the ground, like Johnny Appleseed, right? You can just throw these seeds on the ground, and if they sprout up, they sprout up. If they don't, they are good food for animals and different stuff like that. But some seeds can be toxic if not properly planted, or if like access to them is, you know, available to people or animals, you know, because there's some seeds that have like arsenic and stuff in them. And there's also some seeds, like certain bulb plants especially, certain seeds that like must be carefully planted educationally. You have to know what it is you're doing, how deep to plant them, what time to plant them, in order for them to reach their greatest potential. So you can't just be willy-nilly silly about everything all the time. I'm a comedian. I love being a goofball. But I'm also an extremely like, not like an extremely serious person, but I kind of am too. Like I'm very deep. I'm very personal, not just personable, but personal. I do counseling. I'm a caregiver. Like I'm a hospice care nurse. Like I also do these things that are like extremely serious, extremely deep, like things that like not the average person can do. And then I make porn and shit. Like I have like these like full wild dynamics, right? Quite a full person. So it's about being able to tap into those different aspects of yourself, and one, educating yourself, knowing yourself, engaging with those things so that you can bring them to a sense of maturity, but then also knowing what to do with them outside of yourself. I keep referring to the reading that I did yesterday, but it also like reminds me of that the message that came through about the affections card, where a love note isn't just about the person that's receiving it, but it's also about the person that's giving it. And so you give to yourself and make sure that you're in the right space to give of those things so that they're properly received. I'm just gonna go with the flow. I'll get into these cards, but there's other stuff going on right now. That reminds me of when I was in 8th grade. I had this best friend who I'd had since 7th grade. I met him in 7th grade. We were together in 8th grade and in 9th grade before I left the school. And he was my best friend all through 7th grade, and then all through 8th grade. And it was at the end of 8th grade that he, and I had like a crush on this other kid, mostly just because everybody else did too. And he chose me to kiss. So he was my first kiss, and it wasn't great. He also had both of my brother's names. His name was Timothy Douglas Chaya, but his name was Timothy Douglas, and that was weird of me. But I didn't view my best friend romantically at all. It wasn't that he wasn't somebody that you shouldn't be more romantically attracted to. He was very handsome. He was funny. He was sweet. But I had this different relationship with him, and I wasn't trying to fuck that up. Where, like, this boy I had a crush on, like, it just wasn't the same. I guess I've always kind of done that, too, where I've had these concepts of romantic relationships and sexual relationships being like highly separate from my intimacy. I've always been quite disconnected that way, and that's something that I've been working on as an adult, because it would be nice to be able to like have an actual friend in somebody that I'm also physically intimate with, but that is not how I ever was. So at the end of 8th grade, when my best friend wrote me this love note, and I've never received anything like that in my life since, and probably because I fucked it up and didn't properly appreciate it. But this love note was like the sweetest thing you could possibly imagine, and he meant it. This boy was in love with me, and I didn't know it. And I think I kind of had these feelings, but at the same time, like, I was just ignorant to those things. And I was just like, he's my best friend. Like, he just loves me the way that I love him. This love note was like, I would die for you. Like, he was like, if somebody held a gun to my head and told me that if I admitted to loving you, they would shoot me, I would still do it, because I wouldn't want to live without you knowing how much I love you. Like, that's some deep shit. That's some deep shit, man. That was a lot. And that's what it was. My own family doesn't even like me. Like, I've never had anybody have these strong of feelings for me. This is extremely hard for me to accept, and I don't know what to do with it. And I don't know what to do with it. And I was like, I love this boy, but I'm not trying to date him. He's my best friend. Like, I don't want to fuck that up. And in it, he had also said that he had saved up his money. He had been working for his dad all school year and had saved up his money to be able to order this ring. And he ordered this ring online that he was giving to me. And he was like, if you want to be my girlfriend, put the ring on. And then when I see you with the ring, I'll know that you're my girl. But the ring wasn't in the thing. The ring had fallen out at some point in the time that he had given it to me. I never got the ring. And I remember just being like, even if I had, like, I really wasn't sure about the relationship, and I didn't know. I wasn't ready for that. And I, like, tried to tell him that, like, in the kindest way I knew possible, because I wasn't trying to ruin our relationship or friendship. But when he saw me without that ring, and when I had, like, this look on my face, like, Tyler, let me in, like, his name was Tyler Sally, and I actually just dreamt about him the other night, and in my dream, I was, like, for some reason, closer friends with his twin, Jake. They didn't actually look like each other, they were fraternal twins, but Jake and Nathan Rogers were right there, and I was, like, acting like I was closer to them than I was to Tyler, and he was still just kind of mad at me. Just like a weird thing, because he was literally my best friend. I spent every day with this dude. Like, at school, we were super close. Like, I didn't spend time with him outside of school because I wasn't allowed to, because we were boy and girl. But that's always how I was. All my best friends have always been men. Always been boys. Always been men. Because I grew up with brothers. So it just came naturally to me that way. The girls that I had that were my closest friends were ones that my mom picked for me, and they weren't... I had a best friend growing up that was a girl, but, like, she actually just had a crush on me the whole time. Like, and her dad, like, would be really weird with us, and I'm pretty sure tried to molest us a couple times, and, like, I'm pretty sure he molested her multiple times, and he was a drunk, and he was fucked up, and he scared me, and I didn't... Her mom was my mom's best friend, but I didn't really like their family, and I had a crush on her brother for a while, mostly just because he was the only boy around when I was very little, and I was a little boy crazy, and she's always been a lesbian. She always had a crush on me, and that always made me uncomfortable, but, like, we didn't know that that's really fully what was going on. She would just always try to, like, fool around with me, and I just never was into it, really. Weird dynamics, but it gave me the sense of that note. And the crazy thing about it was that, like, Tyler had spent the entire year, like, he had a crush on me the entire 7th grade, but he wasn't going to say anything. He waited until 8th grade, and then he spent the entire year in 8th grade, and we were supposed to start, like, what he imagined was that we would start dating over the summer in 8th grade, and that in high school, we would actually be boyfriend and girlfriend. Like, start high school off, and that we would go through high school as boyfriend and girlfriend and probably get married after high school. Which, in the Christian little realm, is, like, the dream. Like, that is the dream. And I'm sure that he's still a wonderful man, to be honest. He's very attractive. He was my best friend. I didn't feel that way for him. I didn't know how to. But yeah, like, that was, like, and that was the thing, too, where it's, like, it was literally nothing about him at all. He had done nothing wrong. It wasn't that there was anything unattractive about him. The only reasons I felt the way I felt was because I was unhealed. I didn't even know I was fucked up yet, you know? And he had spent the entire year, like, working up to that, to be able to profess his love to me, and had worked the entire year to be able to afford that ring. That was his plan all along. That's why he did it. So, like, he had prepared himself. He had done all this work himself. He had done all of these different things to be able to get to that point. And then he wrote this beautiful, beautiful letter. He expressed his beautiful love letter. He expressed his love so profoundly. And it was beautiful. It It was beautiful. You could tell he took his time to write it real nice. Like, it was a beautiful letter. I think he even colored on the envelope. But I wasn't ready. And, like, that's one of the crazy things about, like, in the reading yesterday, it was focusing on the concept of getting yourself into the right space so that you can give the right kind of love. Because you can sit here and give all of your love away all the time and be like, why is nobody receiving this? Why doesn't it mean anything? And it's because you're not actually giving love. If you haven't given it to yourself, how do you know that what you're even giving is love? You have yet to receive it. You have no idea what it is that you're giving. You know what I mean? But now it's shedding this light on the opposing side of that you can do all of this work through all of these generations. And, like, I've done all of this work to get myself into a place where I can offer myself properly. Like, I can do my work. I can embrace my destiny to offer myself to the world in a positive, powerful way. But I can't force the world to be ready for that. And so, like, so much of this waiting is like that too. It's like waiting for the world to be ready for it. And just doing whatever I'm supposed to do in the meantime. And it's hard because, like, with the comedy, like, it doesn't, I know that that's not what I'm trying to do long term. And I also fear that, like, my humor is a bit extreme. My satire is wildly inappropriate. Much of what I do is. And so it's like a fear almost of, like, engaging in those things because I'm well aware already of my destiny in the future. And it's like, I'm not trying to fuck it up, you know, by, like, giving into certain things. But it's also a reminder that that's, like, it's not how it works. These messages are from thousands of years ago. You think over thousands of years there hasn't been multiple generations that have just been shit? Like, I just was talking about how I don't let my grandpa or my great-grandpa into my energetic fields because of them not doing the work. Not doing the right things by me, by our bloodline. And that was a thing when I first started getting into my ancestors too. I realized that, like, I'm, you know, and it's not that my native ancestors and my white ancestors all have, like, they ain't all been great. My great-great-grandmother was great. She really was. She was great. And her mother was also powerful and great, and kind, even gentle in comparison. They all served their own place and time, though. And many of my ancestors have been pieces of shit. As far as their life was concerned, they weren't, I mean, I've got some perversions in my bloodline, like addictions, perversions, aggressions, and abuse all throughout my bloodline that have been healing in my own lifetime. But yeah, it's not like everybody was always doing everything perfect. There is no actual perfection. They were just doing the best with what they had. And sometimes they were getting the shit end of the stick. Now, it's easy for me to hold it against my ancestors to some degree, and to hold it against anybody in my own arrogance. The fact that it's not like I've always gotten the greatest privileges. I've often gotten the short end of the stick, and I've used that to, like, do great works with. You know, if I had this long stick, it would end up being too flexible, and I wouldn't be able to do these fine, detailed lines that I've been able to do with my short stick. When you're, like, drawing or painting and stuff, you would understand what I'm talking about. If you're drawing lines in the sand, if you're trying to draw a design in the sand, having a giant, long, bendable stick is not going to be the most beneficial thing. You want something short and small and sturdy so that you can actually work with it in detail. So I've taken my short stick and used it as a privilege. It's been exactly what I needed. But it took this long for me to be me, right? It took all of my ancestors being who they were, being with who they were, living the lives that they lived in order for me to become. And then it's taken everything that I've done in order to become where I'm at and who I am now. So all of these things served a greater purpose. And it's so much about, like I was just told this morning in my meditations, to step back and realize that so much of this is about a greater purpose. And to be able to embrace that and to not move in fear. I can't fuck it up. It's my destiny. I cannot fuck it up. I've had other people actively come against me, even my own mother, when it comes to my destiny. Recognize through their own spiritual craft that there is something great being done through me and trying to take me off of that horse. And I've even tried to let people, to be honest. I pursued a dude for 4 years that's all he was trying to do, and I was trying to let him, to be honest. But this is so much greater than us. It's so much greater than us. It's not about our own personal anything. That way I'm just a tool being used by the universe. And because of this, because like I can go this far back, I can go so far back in time and realize that like I said, like I know when I say certain things that I'm just a mirror for you. I've always said that if you want to know me truly, look in the mirror, get to know yourself. Then you can understand me. I will be a mystery to anyone who does not know themselves, always. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. That's just how it is. People all the time find me very mysterious, and I don't get it. I'm literally like the most straightforward person I can possibly be, but it's because they don't know themselves and they don't know how to receive that. They're used to fronting. They're used to concepts of identity that I just don't work with. I work in these realms of time and space that don't just exist in these momentary, definitive aspects of experience. I work outside of that. And because of that, and it's not because I'm so great or anything like that either. I didn't even have an identity. That's why I didn't have the privilege of having my own identity. But that was a privilege because it allowed me to be this tool that I am today. You know, and like that's something very important for people to consider too. You may feel so lost, like, but I don't know who I am. You keep telling me to know myself and I don't know who I am. That's not what I'm talking about. That's not what I'm talking about. You're conceiving this identity and trying to come into that and trying to know that. Quit looking outside of yourself. Quit conceiving of yourself. Quit perceiving yourself. Go deeper than that. Dig deeper into what you truly are, which goes so far beyond your physical appearance, your voice, the way that you act, the people that you connect with, the things that you choose to do in your life, the dark secrets that you hide from everybody, the weird things that you want to do for a career. Like those things are secondary to who you really truly are. And as long as you are looking at those things to define you, you won't be truly getting to know you. In order to know yourself, it's the same thing. Like in order to know me, forget about me, know you. And in order to know you, forget about you, know everything else. Step into the universe, you know, learn the world around you and you will learn yourself. Dude, these messages are so crazy because I imagine that when a normal person is doing these tarot cards, that they're reading them like tarot cards. But because I don't do tarot, I only do oracle, like I'm getting these crazy deep messages off of these cards and it feels so cool. This is like super exciting for me. This is so fun. This is so deep and like it's just like these pictures, right? Like this is what I've been trying to get at this whole time. So like you can see that like these are interconnected and create this like weaving, right? But these swords do the same thing. And like I said, these are our bookends on the reading. They resemble each other. And that's what I was getting at, was that there's literally the exact same weaving pattern that's here is in these swords here. And it's so cool and so powerful. And like, this is giving me this energy. I'm just going to full on do this like an oracle. I'm not even, this is giving me this energy of passion and light and knowledge, where this black hole sun is giving me this energy of shadow, of the unknown, of intrigue. And it's, you know, so that's so cool too, because this is the front cover of our book, right? And the front cover of our book is like going headfirst into what we're about to read in the text. And it's like pumping you up for it. And it's like building on all of this energy to open you up. One thing that I noticed is like, and I mean, this isn't even how you normally would read these symbols, but because they both have the same masculine symbol here and here, but then this one has the omega here, and this one has the, what is that? Gemini. The Gemini symbol here. What I noticed about those was that the similarities, so the Gemini symbol and the Omega symbol are essentially the same, except that this one is open-ended and this one has a closed bottom. Because you're looking at a camera, these are backwards. This is the first card, and because of the way I have them set on the table, this is the front cover, this is the back cover. So the front cover is literally leaving this open concept, and the back cover is like this sense of fulfillment and encapsulating the knowledge within all of these things. Okay, so there is a beginning and end. It's just so cool. There's so much. It's the same thing, like there's a lot of like, there's a sense of duality in this card that becomes a singularity in this card. This is the beginning, this is the end. The sun, the fire, the flame of creation, the beginning of existence, the black hole sun, the void that swallows us whole. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. And it's not something to be afraid of, despite the fact that, I have to say that because despite the fact that on the front cover, when you first open the book, it's what do they call that? Like the message from the author when they like make the book for somebody specifically and they like dedicate the book to somebody, right? This book is dedicated to you personally. As soon as you open this book, the first thing that you see, it's like as if your name is right on this book. And this is a book that everybody has access to, but everybody's name is on the book themselves as soon as they open it. If somebody's looking over your shoulder, they see their name, but you see your name when you open this front cover of the book. What it actually says is Lord of Valor. But that's you. You're the Dragonborn. You're the initial flame of existence that ever began. Like, there hasn't been, I don't know if you saw, there was just an orb that flew past. When it said that you are the eternal flame. You are the beginning of existence. You are that flashbang of creation, of the start of life. You are the flame of creation, right? But on the back cover and how it closes, like I said, like it talks about the author, right? What we learn in this book, as we get into this, what we learn in this is going to be a long reading, I don't care. What we learn in the book, essentially, this is like a spoiler alert, right? At the beginning of the book, it's kind of like, did you ever watch the Neverending Story? He starts this book thinking that he's reading about these fantastical characters, only to realize throughout the book that he is the main character. But not only is he the main character, towards the end of it, he becomes the actual author. He is expected to complete this work, to fulfill it, to write in the name, the most important name used in the entire book. Like, that's on him, right? And so what we find, like, that's what's crazy too, is because, like, you find that, like, when you get to this back cover and you get to who the author of all those things are, it's you. It was you all along. It was always you. And, like, it says it right at the beginning of the book. But because you haven't read the book yet, because you haven't gone through this process yet, you don't fully understand that. You don't know what to make of that. It seems so strange. You have somebody telling you, I'm you. I'm just you. I'm just trying to remind you of these things. I'm literally here outside of you to remind you of who you are. That's it. That's all I'm here for. I'm a figment of your imagination to help you and guide you. And this whole book was just a figment of your imagination. The second you close it, it's gone. It's gone. It doesn't even exist. It exists just for you. Just for you to be able to read it and to enjoy it and to get into it so that you can know yourself and you can read yourself and you can enjoy yourself and you can know yourself. And then it's gone. And then it's gone. And that's it. On the back cover, it says Lord of Despair and Cruelty. And it leaves with this feeling. It's so wild because it reminds me of the never-ending story. You really should watch the book. Watch the book if you haven't. But in the end of it, in the book, maybe it is it even a book? It might actually be a book. I've only seen the movie, and I didn't even see it until I was an adult. I wasn't allowed to watch it as a child. My brothers watched it, and it was one of their favorite movies. I wasn't allowed to because of the magic in it. My parents had really weird standards. I didn't watch it until I was older. But at the end of it, you have the princess who's like, say my name, Bastian, say my name. And she's like begging him because he's become the Lord of Despair and Cruelty. Everything hinges on him to be the one to complete this book. So we have this whole fantastical world where everything, like, he's looking at it like he's just this, I'm a nobody. I'm just this tiny little guy in this character. Like, I don't mean anything in this book. He didn't even see himself in the book at first, right? And, like, all of these things are so much bigger than life. At the end, all of a sudden, like, every character in the book is looking at him like, it's you. It's all about you. Like, what are you going to do with this? What are you going to make of this? Like, please do the thing. Like, make us, create us, keep us, let us be this thing. And he doesn't know himself fully yet. He's still trying to process this, right? Like, it's very complicated for him. And he's scared. He's so uncertain. And they're looking at him like he is the Lord of Despair and Cruelty. Like, he's this black void that's about to swallow them whole into the darkness of, what do they call it? There's a name for the void there's this dark void that is encompassing and encroaching on imagination land, right? I don't, on the land of imagination or whatever. Creativity. And the power of it lies in the reader, thus the author's capacity to either continue the story on. It's called the never-ending story because you get to take of it what you will and then make it something more. But if you just leave it as a book or as a movie in childhood, when you watched it way back when, and yeah, it made you feel some ways, but like you don't feel nostalgic towards it anymore, and if you just leave it alone, you let it die. You are the one in complete power of that. And so then there's like this beast that's like trying to convince him to just like, it's fine. You don't got to care about anything. Everything is for nothing anyways. None of it actually matters. You know, like he's trying to put the power of cruelty and despair into him in order to have him manifest that. That is the world that we live in right now. That is what we're seeing in the world right now. That's why when Trump becomes president and I see a whole bunch of people literally in this sense and fear of they're in despair out of fear of the potential cruelty, like, that's an illusion. Get the fuck out of your heads and get into your actual self, because you are the ones that are putting that power and into this, and that are completely obliterating the land of imagination and creativity and creation and what it's worth. Those that took it and said, you know what, I'm pissed, I'm mad, I really don't understand this, I can't believe this, I'm going to come together with my community and we're going to build something better because I'm not taking this. You're gods. You're the God of creation. Thank you. Keep doing that. Keep being creative. Don't let anything stop you. Do not take on cruelty and despair. Like, you're the master of these things. You're the author of these things. It doesn't have to terrify you. It has a purpose and it serves a purpose. You can't just take it out of the book. There was a reason it is here and that it is at the end of the book. And I know that that seems so intimidating, but it's nothing. It's just an illusion. It's just for you to work through. It's just something more for you to alchemize. Take the goodness in your heart and let that speak on the goodness in this world. Don't fill your void with despair and cruelty. Don't do that. Let those things exist as they exist to remind you that you are the Lord of valor. You were told at the beginning of the book, at the very beginning, from the moment that you were born, that it was you. But you've forgotten that throughout all this time, throughout all this space, throughout all of this history. And it's easy to. Don't beat yourself up about it. It happens to everyone. But you know better now. You're awakened to it now. Yeah, it's very strange because all of a sudden as you're reading this book, you realize that they're actually talking to you. They're actually using your name. It wasn't just a gimmick. It really is you. And that is extremely hard to process. It's like the Matrix. Like, I can't be the one. I can't be the one. I can't go flying around and jumping off of buildings and stuff like that. That doesn't fit what my narrative, right? As if you're not the author. You're the one dictating what fits your narrative. You're the creator. It's you. You're the one that chooses what gods you believe in. You're the one that chooses who you give love to and how. You're the one that chooses how you view yourself and what that means. When you give love to others and it doesn't come back the way that you expected it, that's you. It's all just you. It's all just you and just a reflection of you. So when you give in to cruelty and despair, what is that saying? Those things don't exist outside of your power to give them existence. They do exist innately because as soon as I say those things, they mean something to you. That's fine, but that you are the one that gets to change those in however you choose to. You know, it wouldn't be much of a never-ending story. It wouldn't be much of a story if it never ended and also never had any sort of like conflict. The conflicts within the never-ending story is what makes it so exciting and so moving. We don't want to lose those that we care for in the bog, what is it, like the bog of despair? Isn't that what it's called? Something like that? Where he loses Abraxas, the horse? I think that's the horse's name. I only watched the movie once, okay? So sorry, I didn't grow up with it. But it moved me. It moved me. It immediately became part of all the other movies that are part of my theory of everything. And it's true. It's so true. That is the reality that we live in, right? Okay, so in this book, okay, I just told you I gave you everything. This is like one of those movies like Memento, where like the entire movie is laid out before you, first thing, and it doesn't make any sense to you because you don't know yet how it lines up. You don't really understand those things yet. You're seeing this, you're seeing that, you're seeing this, you're seeing that, and you don't get it. Like I said, like me looking at like, okay, but how could me doing porn or comedy possibly fit into me also being like a powerful leader and role model? Because I don't want people to not take things seriously. I don't want people to just treat everything like it's a joke and be disrespectful, which much of my jokes are. Well, that's almost like the whole point of my humor. I don't want people selling themselves and they're valuing themselves by money. I don't want people just being with whoever they want willy-nilly without any sense of their sacred aspects. But that's not what I'm doing. That's not what I'm even doing in those things. Those things are a reflection of something much deeper in me. Everybody might not know that. It might not be received that way, but I'm not the one in control of how those things are received to begin with. Every time I've tried to be a wholehearted Christian doing the right things, I was trying to be a Christian missionary. And that wasn't being properly received either, to be honest. So, like, it's never been on me how those things are received, right? You can do everything with the greatest intent, but it's the road to hell that's paved with good intent. Because good intention doesn't equal good follow-through. It's what you do that matters. What you actually do, not what you intend to do, what you actually do. Which is the fear and the trepidation and the intimidation of doing these things that I feel called to, even just for my own pleasure, because it seems so futile in such a great, grand experience. And, you know, that fear, but like at the same time, in the same hand, I'm like, oh, it seems so insignificant. But then I'm also incredibly terrified that these things might fuck everything up for the rest of forever. Like I said, that's not how it works. If that were how it works, I wouldn't be where I am today, because my grandpa and his dad and probably lots of generations prior to that would have fucked it up for us. This goes back to thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago. People have been fucking up this entire time. This entire time. And we still have opportunity for greatness and for goodness, for love and for peace, for genuine experience. That's just how it is. There is no actual beginning and end. That's why this ends with the Lord, with the black hole sun. That's the beginning. That's just the beginning. God takes you into his mouth and swallows you whole and then spits you back out the other end. It's just a transition. Okay, so there's nothing to fear here. There's nothing to fear here. Okay, so this says that the battery, or that it's about to die. So we're going to stop there, and then we're going to do a second part, and the second part we're going to get into the text of this book of life. This has been such a fun, wild reading. I'm so excited, and I hope that you're excited too. And it's going to get wild. The middle part's going to get wild. I'm very excited. Okay, so let me upload this, and I will be back.